Damn you, Jeremiah. So we've got the wires 80% of the way cleaned up, I think. As you can see, it's all nice and tested, taped up. We've got connectors on it. So the only thing that we have not done are the tach modules here, because we're still trying to figure out what's going on with the actual tachometer before I can actually finish all this up. So these wires are going to have to get lengthened or shortened or something like that. I'm not quite sure just yet. And then we've got the CAN bus wiring here. Now on the BTI gauge, I talked to Brandon, I believe his name is, over at BTI, who was super duper helpful. So they recently started supporting the max ECU protocol, and unfortunately this one's not going to be able, well, let me take that back. So this one's obviously not set up for the max ECU. So there is an option of being able to mail it back to him, and so we can mail it to him. And fortunately enough, if you guys don't know, BTI is actually here in Texas, so we can mail this off to him, and he basically will flash it on so it works with the max ECU. So as you can see, I've already got it removed, and I'm going to get the sucker into the mail. That way he can get this all situated for us and then get it back to us. So in terms of the gauge cluster though, we still don't have anything on that just yet, but that's not stopping me from moving forward. Now I want to show you guys our sweet bracket here, and of course it's always a mess everywhere. So the bracket, obviously we designed this based off of the original amp. Now a few things, our standoffs are a little bit too short, and so we added these in just for support. So we need to add a little bit more to it, that way it's nice and supported. So I don't know if you guys can see it, but it can wiggle a little bit, so we're going to add a little bit more to here. That way we can keep it supported on these ends. The next big problem though is that even though these holes are right, it's actually situated wrong. So my initial plan was to have the ECU sitting this way, but as you can see, the bracket is designed for it to sit this way. So we're going to rotate this bracket and reprint it, and then that way it sits like this. And so my reasoning for it to sit like this is a few. One, the wires are kind of routed that way, because that's just kind of my initial thought there. The second thing is that I wanted the antenna and the USB cable facing this way. So if you think about it, if you're using the app, you're on your phone and you'll be sitting on the driver's side. Secondly, with the USB, primarily whoever's tuning it is going to be sitting on the driver's side. So to me, it just seemed like to make the most sense to have it here. Then you could leave the cables kind of just tucked here, and then the USB cable would be straight across like that. So we got the new bracket situated here. Here's the old bracket, and what was wrong with it was the mounting screws were 90 degrees out, and then we also made these legs a bit longer to help support it. So now the ECU is mounted. You can see the support. You can physically see that it's a bit longer now, but the ECU is in, it's all fitted up, and we zip tied it in. You could optionally put screws in it. I just zip tied it, and the reason why I zip tied it was just because now we also have a place to hold the wires using zip ties. So we're at the final fold here, and that's going to be, we're gonna pop the seat in, and with fingers crossed, hopefully this is enough to get the seat in without any issues. So the seat's not bolted in, but it is lined up to their holes, and I can't really tell from here, but putting my hand in here seems like we've got ample space. So I think we're good to go. I'd like to think that's a success there. So before you guys get excited about the Supra strapped down on the dyno, we're not doing anything too crazy. So our dyno can do what's called steady state tuning. And so what that means is that I can basically calibrate it and tell it to lock it in certain RPMs. And so basically, I do this in lieu of street tuning. Street tuning is, I think, a little bit better, but this is a really quick way, in my opinion, to kind of just get the ball rolling, so you don't have to worry about, you know, the car being registered and all this other stuff. Plus, you know, you don't have to deal with someone else driving or you driving and looking at the laptop. But obviously, as you guys know, I do a ton of street tuning still. As you can see from the interior, the car is still completely apart though. So we still don't have our gauge cluster back, which by the way, they said that did test good. So like I said, we're gonna just kind of do some steady state tuning just because we have to get it done anyways. And to be honest with you guys, I'm too lazy to do anything else. So we're gonna go ahead and get this started. I'm gonna grab my laptop here, but we'll get started on our steady state tuning and then you guys can join in on the fun. I'm somewhat situated in the car, not quite. I'm gonna get everything set up here on the laptop, and once we get it all set up, we'll go ahead and get the dyno set up. And of course, you may not be able to see it, but there's a set of gauges there. And so how this actually works is that I have the RPM set at 2,500 RPMs. I'll get the car over here to 2,500 RPMs as well. And then at that point, I basically will tell it, yes, this is 2,500 RPMs. So my dyno goes one step further. Once you have it locked in at 2,500 RPMs and you click OK, basically, it'll actually start to apply load. From there, you'll go wide open throttle. And so what it's trying to do is that it's trying to mitigate the tire deformation as best as it can. And if you guys don't remember, I talk about it in my last video about tire deformation on the STI. I'll put a link in the description below if you guys want to check that out. But yeah, so that's basically it right there. So I strapped down the car and then I realized that the e-brake was up. So now there's a good chance that this is not set up correctly. So that's what if you're wondering why we're actually not doing anything just yet, it's because we're still setting up. Damn you, Jeremiah. Okay, good enough. All right, third time's a charm. And this is why I do not do power pulls on my dyno, because it takes forever to set up. So we have a bit of the fuel table sussed out. These values are kind of a little bit weird to me, but it is somewhat sussed out and a lot better than what it was before. However, it's starting to overheat pretty bad, and that was only with a little bit of the steady state stuff. So it's definitely getting up there in temp. I was looking at the fans. He's got electric fans, but they're like junk Mishimoto fans. So I don't know how that was not a problem before, but it's definitely not good. The alternative is that the car probably was overheating and they never realized it, but it is also strapped down on a dyno. So there's no real airflow moving across the radiator, and that could be a big part of it. But as you guys know, Supras always have issues with overheating, or anything with a 2J rather has an issue with overheating. Okay, so I hate to say it, but I lied to you guys. I said that I was not going to do any real tuning because I got to break the clutch in. I kind of lied. So I went ahead and did a couple pulls. I got 4 pulls in that were wide open throttle, and mind you, this is only 8 pounds of boost. But we ended up optimizing AFR and gave it a little bit of time at 8 pounds of boost, gave us 280 and 272. So great numbers, considering that it's only 8 pounds of boost. It's pretty good on 93. Yeah, I think it's all right. So it took a little bit to kind of get my head wrapped around the software, you know, because everything is done quite a bit differently than other softwares that I'm used to. But I think overall it's a pretty damn good ECU. It, just like anything else, it has its quirks. The tuning manual could definitely be a lot better. So today it really felt like it was just trial by fire. You know, just hopped in, used common sense, and, you know, seems pretty good. Now, the car overall did pretty damn good as well. We didn't have anything crazy. Clutch feels great, you know, nothing crazy there, but the fans. The fans are the only thing that kind of scare me. I could do like one run, and from that one run, it would jump from like 200 to 230, almost 240 Fahrenheit. And then, you know, it'd come back down to idle and the temperature would drop back down to 200. So yes, 2Js are cast iron, and yes, they do run hot, but I think that's a little unacceptable. It might be better when the car's actually moving and there's a little bit of airflow, but it's definitely not great. So if you look at the run, this is our like first actual run. So it's still pretty rich here, and it's still rich. By then I've already started to lean it out. And the runs subsequently after this, I was just cleaning up AFRs, and it was about the same power, so I didn't think there was any need to save them all. But we started adding timing, and like from here, from this number to this number, I mean, we added, oh boy, probably 10 degrees in the mid-range probably. So it came up quite a bit from the base map, and you can see, I mean, it reflects here on the dyno graph, obviously. So it's doing pretty good. I'm gonna leave it on the dyno because I'm beat. It's hot as hell. I'm ready to go home.